Hey guys, wanted to go ahead and share a tip that is kind of very divided. I shared this with the tools community, and I shared this with the minimalism community. The minimalism community, they loved it. They're like, wow, that's a great tip. I'm going to do this. This is a great idea. And the people in the tools community were very upset. They were like, disappointed! Why the fuck would you do that? That's terrible advice. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and explain the reasoning, and then I'll explain what the tip is. So in minimalism, what they tell you are two different rules. So the first rule is the 20-20 rule. And what that means is don't keep a lot of just in case items. You know, there are things that you have in the house that you almost never use, but you're like, I might need that someday. And so what the 20-20 rule in minimalism says is that if you can replace it in 20 minutes and it only costs you less than $20, then just get rid of all of them. And when you need it, then you go and buy it, which I freaking love that tip. It's actually one of the best ways to declutter everything in your house. And I never regret it. Now, there are some times where I'm like, ah, damn, I got rid of that last week. But for the most part, I don't care because it's a drop in the bucket, right? That's the first tip that people in minimalism tell you. The second tip in minimalism
is things that you don't know the purpose of. We all have those things in the drawer that you take out and you're like, what is this? What do I use it for? I have no idea. Throw it out. Number 11 is old socks.
And 99% of the time, you're like, you don't care because you don't even know what it did, right? Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the controversial part. But there are a lot of it was like this. There were a lot of things in the toolbox that I don't use, and I don't even know what the hell it does. So this much of the toolbox, I'm like, I don't know what it does. But this much of the toolbox, I knew exactly all the tools in here. So for me, screwdrivers, that's Wera and Weha. For pliers, it's going to be Knipex. For scissors, it's Olfa scissors. For multi-tools, it's either Leatherman or it's going to be Victorinox. Basically, the point I'm trying to say is I know these tools very well, but all these other tools, I never used them, and I didn't even know what they do. And a lot of these tools were kind of donated to me by my grandpa or my dad or whatever. And I didn't even know what the hell it did. And it took up a lot of fucking clutter and space in my garage, all over the place. And when I started getting hardcore into minimalism, I started doing something pretty drastic. And what I did basically was fuck it. It's been years now. And I still have a much more compact tool set where I know what everything in that tool does. And I've never, ever regretted getting rid of all that shit. I didn't really donated it. And people were like, ooh, I'll take that. But at the end, I never regretted it because my tool set went from this big and this much garage crap to this much. And I know what everything in that toolbox does. And so the question is later asked, well, what if you need that tool but you already threw it away? Simple answer. I type in Project Farm on YouTube. I type in that tool and I get the best number one tool that he says on his channel. And that's it. You know what I mean? In other words, basically kind of like the 20-20 rule, I'll get it then.